But should we spend our resources and manpower and stuff to potentially help them?
I think.
What do you guys think?
Yes.
I think we
what
should.
What were you gonna say, Victoria?
Well, for that one, yeah, I think that we definitely should. If we were in that position, we would want somebody to come help us. So
we have been
and
in
we
that
should
position.
be, yeah, and to just sit back and watch is kind of ridiculous. But
yeah, what happens if like we send our aid and we get another like Somalia, Mogadishu, or we have a total retaliation from China?
I mean,
itself.
that's easy
This
to
isn't
say
like
when
Syria.
you're.
Like China is often that's world ending.
I know,
Yeah,
but like at the
exactly.
same time, like that's also like easy to say when we're not the ones that are being
Right.
taken over by another country. Like
I bet you there's a lot of Americans
Well,
who say
there's-
they'd turn their back on it.
Well, how many
my
conflicts have we gotten into where we interject on and help the smaller one, like Ukraine, smaller governments inside a country, things like that, and it just turns into a crap show.
Yeah, I think, but if we can't, the argument will pose, how can you consider yourself one of the best countries in the world and not be willing to, how do you take that away? How do you take away someone's rights? How do you say you had the ability to live the life that you wanted to live for 50 years and now you can't? I mean, that would just be the same thing as if a country was trying to come and take away these same rights that we live in every single day. And you just hope that there would be someone who would be willing to also stand there and fight for them just as much as you were. Because unfortunately, is it incredible that over 2 million people are willing to get out in the streets and protest, and that people of all ages and economic standpoints are willing to fight for these, but 2 million people is unfortunately not enough to go against an entire nation the size of China.
I guess like I also am confused as to, okay, so if they knew that at some point, like they'd already signed something and at some point basically their rights were going to be taken back anyways, not that it's
battle.
okay at all, it's definitely not okay. I guess I'm confused as to why Hong Kong citizens are not leaving Hong Kong.
They are. That's a fantastic point. Taiwan has open immigration to them. What do you call it when asylum to them? So they can anyone who wants to can flee Hong Kong and go to Taiwan and be completely safe there, because Taiwan has its established independence from China, even though China would like the rest of the world to believe it is not, that it is part of China. It is its own territory with its own government and laws, all democratic.
I think the U.S. opened up political asylum to Hong Kongers too.
I would assume so. But here's something: when you've spent your whole life there, and your family's spent their whole life there, and your parents have, and your grandparents have, and you have this way of life that you love, like, it's hard to leave.
And you gotta commend them, like in the inverse.
Yeah.
You have Syrians who really didn't fight, and they just left.
Yep.
And I'm not saying all Syrians,
I commend them.
like the YPG and the PPK and things like that. And they stayed and fight, but for a lot of them, you got military males that are fleeing the country instead of trying to do anything. Whereas in Hong Kong, you've got everybody sitting there trying to make a difference, even in the eyes of a losing battle.
But at some point, I feel like I get, like, at a point, yeah, you stand up and, like, you fight for it, but at some point also, like, there's a choice. Like, there's a choice of whether you would like to go to a country where you have your rights. There's a choice that, I get the point that you're making, like, your family grew up there, like, all of that stuff, except for you've still known that at some point this is being reversed. Like, you have known. I don't think it's okay. I do not think it's okay, but at some point, like,
I feel like,
don't you have a responsibility to choose
maybe they're
the life that you're going to live?
Maybe they're trying to make a difference now, so that
I feel
when
like a
that
tough
50 years
point
is up, that by the end of that 50 years, China will just like, all right, stay Hong Kong.
A tough position I feel like the Hong Kongers are in is, with a date known off in the future, you can make preparations and arrangements. As it's been deteriorating quickly over time now of China trying to take back Hong Kong, some of these families have local brick and mortar businesses there that they can't just leave, because how do you support your family?
Mm-hmm.
What if your Hong Konger doesn't have enough money to leave? Like, what happens when you get over there and you can't find work because 7 million people just fled to Taiwan?
Well, and they might be looking at it too, like Taiwan did it, why can't we?
Mm-hmm.
Taiwan said no to the government of China and became its own entity. It's even classified as its own country now, right? Whereas Hong Kong is still a territory. It's still a direct connection, not physically like border, but it's still directly connected to China. And I think they see if Taiwan did it, we can too. If Taiwan can make a difference, make a change,
And
why can't we?
I get the protesting, and I get that. I just think that, like, okay, like, going and protesting, like, peaceful protesting with how many people it was amazing, but the second that I saw that it turned violent and that the government literally did not give a crap about my life, like, all right, it's time for me to choose my life.
What if you don't have any
Than
money?
it is to...
What if you don't have the means to get away?
Why can't they go to Taiwan and get jobs?
What happens when 7 million people all need jobs at the same time? Taiwan's not very big. It's not like the United States.
Taiwan's just a hair bigger than
Yeah.
Hong Kong.
I know.
Okay, why can't they come to the United States? and get
That's
jobs?
even
How do you
more- that's
how do you
even
get to
harder
the United States? Yeah. It's tough.
I
There's
think- I
no
think a good-
perfect
I
solution.
don't know. If my life was in jeopardy, I would find a way to afford it.
So let's say
Well, but I think that's why there's been such a high impact of everybody understands that this is a life or death matter. This isn't just a, college kids fighting for their right to go to college. Yeah. And this isn't just a tax on the high upper class. I mean, this is something that this is a life or death matter that could affect everybody in every aspect, and so many people are trying to say we're not okay with it, and you can't just take away our, basic life and liberties.
An amazing thing to see too during these protests, when they did become violent and stuff, you saw huge Hong Kong and other parts in the world organizations donating huge amounts of money to get these protesters the basics that they needed to go out, like hard hats, tear gas, masks, and umbrellas, so they could stop getting hit by rubber bullets.
There was
and
a video
tear
of
gas.
the way that they were defeating the tear gas canisters and whatnot.
They were putting buckets on them.
Yeah, buckets, traffic cones,
Yeah.
pouring water on them.
Yeah,
Like,
I was gonna
yeah.
say.
you find a mean. You find there's
Yeah.
a will. There's